Have you noticed how sometimes, like, a certain way of thinking just kind of pops up everywhere you look?
Oh, yeah, totally.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, lately, I've been seeing this whole idea of, like, the art of being delusional everywhere.
Oh,
And
interesting.
it's especially with Gen Z, it seems like.
Hmm.
I don't know, maybe you've seen it around too.
Yeah.
But that's what we're going to be looking at in this deep dive. We could
Yeah.
go right into the heart of what this delulu thing is really all about.
I love it. It's such a fascinating shift, this almost deliberate kind of leaning into this, what a lot of people would have traditionally seen as like unrealistic optimism or something.
Right.
And it makes you think, doesn't it? Is this delulu mindset actually helpful?
Right.
Is it a good way to deal with life?
Yeah. Is it like a superpower even?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Could it be a tool or is it just avoiding reality?
Yeah.
And where's that line?
That's the big question.
Yeah.
And that's what we're going to try to get to the bottom of. We've got a lot of really interesting material to go through that looks at, why this kind of thinking seems to be gaining traction now.
Right.
And what
Yeah.
are the potential benefits? And maybe even more importantly, what are the potential downsides for you, the listener?
Right.
As always, our mission is to really understand this phenomenon and how it plays out in your life.
Yeah, so let's dive in. I think a good place to start would be like, why is this resonating so much with Gen Z right now?
Yeah.
A lot of what we're looking at really emphasizes this moment in time, this current landscape.
Yeah. It just seems like a time of constant uncertainty. Right?
Yeah.
We've just come out of a global health crisis.
Yeah.
We've got this ongoing reality of climate change.
Right.
The economy's all over the place.
Uh-huh.
And then, on top of all of that, you're just trying to figure out who you are and what you're doing in the world.
Of course, as a young adult.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a lot to process. And so in that kind of environment, you can see how maybe bending reality a little bit could be a coping mechanism,
Sure.
a way to find some stability.
Totally makes sense. It's like this lifeline, when you're facing all these challenges,
Yeah,
it can feel overwhelming.
it can.
And one thing our material really points to is the role of social media in all of this.
Oh, absolutely.
Platforms like TikTok and Instagram and Pinterest,
Yeah, they're huge.
they're showing these curated, seemingly perfect lives all the time.
Oh, yeah, and you just scroll through and you see, endless vacations and flawless outfits and everybody just being so successful overnight.
Yeah,
It makes you feel like your own life should be measuring up.
right.
Or that maybe if you just focus hard enough, you can manifest that same perfection for yourself,
Manifestation.
which
Yeah.
is this whole thing online.
Yeah.
Just by focusing your thoughts and energy on a goal,
Yeah.
you can bring it into reality.
Right.
Like you just have to believe it hard enough.
Yeah.
And that's a lot of pressure.
It is a lot of pressure. What I think is interesting is how that feeds into this idea of speaking things into existence.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Like there's a shortcut,
Yeah.
You can get to these perfect realities just through the power of belief.
And it seems like, especially for Gen Z, being delulu is not even something to hide anymore.
Yeah.
It's like a shared experience, a badge of honor even,
Okay.
a way to connect with others who get it,
Interesting.
who feel the same way about the world.
Yeah.
So it's like a way to deal with a chaotic world.
Okay, so you're saying it's like a coping mechanism,
Yeah, maybe.
a way to kind of collectively not fully accept the chaos.
Right. But
Yeah.
it does make you wonder, doesn't it?
What's that?
I mean, are there some hidden costs here?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Are we missing something?
Yeah, I think that's definitely something we should consider. But before we get too far down that road of potential downsides,
Yeah.
I think it's important to look at the other side.
Okay.
What about the potential benefits?
All right. So the idea that being a little bit detached from reality can actually be good for you.
Right.
That's a little counterintuitive, isn't it?
It does at first glance.
Yeah.
But I think the research makes a pretty compelling case.
Yeah.
It suggests that a certain degree of this kind of thinking can actually build confidence.
Okay. How so?
Well, if you believe you can achieve something, even if it seems impossible, you're much more likely to actually try.
I guess that makes sense.
Right. It's like that fake it till you make it idea.
Yeah. If you're constantly doubting yourself and focusing on why you can't do something, you probably never will.
Right.
But if you have this like unwavering belief in yourself, even if it's not totally realistic,
Uh-huh.
well, that might be the thing that actually gets you started.
Exactly.
So in a way, the unrealistic belief fuels the real world action.
I like that. I like how you put that. And it made me think of some examples.
Oh, yeah.
People who had these huge visions, that seemed completely impossible at the time.
Okay, like who?
Well, like Steve Jobs, his conviction that computers should be for everyone.
Yeah.
User-friendly, accessible. Or Elon Musk,
Okay.
sending people to Mars.
Wow, those are some big ones.
I know, right?
And at the time, they probably did seem delusional to a lot of people.
Totally.
But it was that vision that kept them going, that got them to achieve those incredible things.
Yes, to innovate, to push through all the setbacks and roadblocks.
So it's not just about being blindly optimistic or wishing for things to happen.
Right.
It's about that belief leading to action.
Exactly. You can't just imagine success.
Yeah.
You have to take those first steps.
Right. So it's not about sitting around and waiting for things to magically appear.
No.
It's about having that confidence
Yeah.
that drives you to work hard.
Yeah, and I think that's a really important distinction.
Okay.
It's not just delusion. It's delusion plus action.
But there is another side to all of this, isn't there?
There is.
We talked about it a little bit earlier.
Yeah.
When does this belief become something harmful?
Yeah, when does it cross the line?
Yeah.
Well, I think the research is pretty clear on that.
Okay.
There's a fine line between a belief that helps you and a belief that leads to denial.
Uh-huh.
The danger is when you're holding on to a fantasy that prevents you from actually moving forward.
Okay. I see what you mean.
Right.
And there are some relatable examples of that, like being in a situationship and just convincing yourself that it's going to turn into a real relationship.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Even though all the signs say otherwise.
When you've built up this whole future in your head based on, like, very little.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
And I think what's really key there is that it leads to self-sabotage.
Oh, absolutely.
Because you're clinging to this belief.
Yeah.
And it prevents you from having difficult conversations, from setting boundaries, from even just seeing other opportunities that might be out there.
It's like you said, you're stuck waiting for something that's not actually happening.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Another example is like the student who thinks they're so smart they don't need to study.
Oh, yeah. I've definitely known people like that.
And that delusion leads to procrastination and poor choices.
Totally, because the fantasy prevents you from actually doing the work.
Right.
Yeah.
And the research says that this kind of delusion, the kind without action, can be really detrimental.
Absolutely. You get trapped in this cycle of waiting for the perfect moment or for things to fall into place instead of actually doing something to make it happen.
Right. The fantasy becomes a substitute for the work.
Exactly. So it's interesting to think about this in the context of our current culture.
What do you mean?
Well, like, you know how there's this huge emphasis on being real and authentic?
Oh, yeah, for sure. Like everyone's telling you to be your true self.
Yeah, be transparent.
Online and in real life.
Exactly. So how does that fit with this embrace of delusion?
That's a really good point.
Yeah.
It is kind of a paradox.
Yeah.
But maybe this is like a response to that pressure.
Yeah.
You know?
Maybe it's a way to handle the contradictions of modern life.
Yeah.
We're told to be realistic, but we're also bombarded with these images of perfect lives.
So maybe a little bit of positive fantasy is a way to deal with that.
Yeah, to navigate a world that can feel really chaotic and uncertain.
Like it's a way to create a more positive space for yourself in your head.
Exactly, a little bubble of optimism.
Yeah.
And the research does suggest that as long as that motivates you to actually do something, it can be helpful.
Right.
It's about using that belief as fuel for your ambitions.
Yeah, to encourage you to take risks and to see possibilities that maybe other people don't see.
Exactly. But the important thing is you can't let that belief blind you.
Right. You still have to
Yeah.
have a foot in reality.
Yeah.
So you can see when things aren't working and make adjustments.
You got it. It's a balancing act.
So to summarize, the point isn't to live in a fantasy world,
Right.
but a little bit of this delulu thinking might actually be good for you.
Yeah, I think so.
As long as you're aware of the line between helpful belief and denial.
Yeah. You got to be able to tell the difference.
And the key is to use that belief to empower yourself,
Uh-huh.
not to avoid reality.
Right. It's about taking those positive steps.
So basically those delulu beliefs can be a starting point,
Yeah.
but they're not the whole plan.
Yeah.
You still need a strategy.
Absolutely.
You still need to put in the work.
Yeah.
And you have to be willing to adapt.
The world is always changing.
Yeah.
So that leads to this last thought I want to leave you with.
Okay.
In a world that's so uncertain,
Yeah.
do we need a little bit of self-created belief to keep going?
Interesting. So like, even if it seems a little unconventional or out there,
Yeah.
it might be what allows us to move forward,
Exactly.
to strive for something better.
Yeah.
And if that's true, What does that say about how we see reality?
I don't know the answer to that.
It's a good question.
But it's worth thinking about.
Yeah, it is.
It really is.
Okay, well, that's all the time we have for today.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for listening, and be sure to join us next time for another deep dive.
Bye, everyone.